Hey, what's up everyone? I'm super hungry for lunch right now, and I thought I'd just bring you along to the grocery store to kind of walk through and talk through the inspiration process for how I decide what to eat. I'm going to Richmond, New Maiwa. It's a mid-sized grocery store, and I'm super excited because there's so many ingredients to get inspired by. So let's go. All right, so today I'm kind of feeling like I want some beef noodle soup. So I'm gonna go kind of decide which beef I want and which noodles I want. So here are the noodles. There's a lot of options for noodles here. I kind of just want a thick, standard wheat noodle. So the closest thing that I can see to that is just this guy right here. And I'll kind of learn and experiment if this is actually good for a soup. So got my noodles. Now in terms of greens, there's like a million different types of greens here. There's a lot of mustard greens, choy, gailan, a lot of different things. I think for this beef noodle soup, I probably just want a little bit of bok choy, just kind of placed on top of the noodle soup, and that'll just be kind of soft, kind of absorb some of the flavor, and pretty tender. It's a lot of bok choy here. I think I want this style of bok choy. So I can just kind of blanch these and throw them into the soup once the soup is ready and to serve. It'll give it some nice color. I'm thinking to do a bit of a chili-based soup. So I want that red color to stand out with the green color. Now I want to get some beef. Different cuts of beef have different properties for sure. That right there is a ribeye. It's like tender for steak. A lot of these are for steak. I'm more interested in the shank, as well as the oxtail over there. So the tail and the shank have a lot of flavor and a lot of connective tissue, and they really help develop like that beefy flavor, like super beefy. There's a lot of bones in the oxtail, and what we'll do is we can cook the shank in the pressure cooker, tenderize it, and once we tenderize it, we can slice it thinly and kind of put it on top of the end product. The oxtail will be more for flavor and will kind of provide a different texture than the shank will. You can give me the whole thing, it's fine. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now I'm pretty much done. I have my bok choy, my noodles, and my beef, and I have all the other ingredients at home. So there's like, I'm thinking probably some soy sauce, star anise, cinnamon, fennel, Sichuan peppercorns, some bay leaves, kind of just like a classic stock spice combination. And probably we'll put a bunch of chili oil on it to make it nice and red and tasty. I'm going to use the pressure cooker to really tenderize both the shank and the oxtail, because those really have a lot of connective tissue and you need time and heat to break that down. All right, now to check out. Really what inspired me was just seeing the noodle aisle. I was just like, damn, I could really use some noodles right now. So when I make this, I'm expecting something super beefy, spicy, chewy, with the noodles, chewy with the beef as well, but also tender enough. Just super hearty. So let's cook. So the main thing we're doing here is we're going to pressure cook the beef. Just some aromatics. I don't have any scallions, so I'm just going to use an onion, a little bit different, a little bit more sweet, but it'll be okay. Ginger, garlic, and then we have our noodles and our bok choy for when we want to kind of plate everything up. This will take about 30 or 45 minutes to pressure cook. So I'm just gonna throw a ton of spices in there, a bunch of water, and my beef, and I'm gonna close it up and kind of let it rock. All right, let's start with the spices. So I'm just gonna put a bit of Sichuan pepper, same for the fennel, Wow. You can tell that I don't know who would use the shaker for the fennel, but okay, whatever. Some cloves, once again. Doesn't make sense to have this top. Just some cloves. This is all kind of I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I know that some of these are pretty dominant flavors and I don't want to totally mess up the balance, so 2 bay leaves will be fine. Few star anise. This is loosely based on a recipe from Chinese Cooking Demystified that I watched this morning. I think it was their Wuhan hot dry noodle recipe. They had to use a master stock. So a nice stick of cinnamon. Yes, this stuff smells really good. And 1 pod of black cardamom. So it's kind of all of our spices now. We can move on to the other bits. Let's go for the garlic. So you can just smash garlic to peel it. That's one of the faster ways. Just like that. The skin comes right off. I don't actually need to peel the ginger at all, so just don't waste your time on that. Same thing with the garlic. These are all going to be flavorings for the stock, and it's all kind of melt down, and I might just strain it later. So just to make sure that we have the ginger flavor, I'm just going to cut it up a bit, give it more surface area for all those flavors to get integrated into the broth. And then really, as you can tell, I'm kind of messing around with these little things. These are really useful for keeping your workplace kind of clean and organized. Strongly suggest getting bowls, either like using, Tupperware, a plate, bowls, doesn't really matter. But it's just valuable to keep your workspace clean. I'm just gonna do a rough chop on this onion because I don't really care what the size is going to be, because I'm going to strain it. People say to remove the outer layer. I just don't. That's like if you're trying to be super, I don't know, fancy isn't really the word, but if you're trying to be more detailed, the outer layer of an onion is a bit more sharp and less desirable, I guess, but I really don't care. Okay, so now we have our pot. I'm just gonna throw in basically everything. This is a super simple, I'm not really trying very hard. I'm gonna throw in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 shiitake mushroom. That should be fine. I'm gonna throw in my onions. I'm gonna throw in my ginger and garlic, and I'm gonna throw in all of my spices. That's the base, and then I'm gonna pop in my oxtail, which is this like super fatty, collagenous. It's like got a ton of connective tissue. You can already see on the outside. And that's going to be for a lot of flavor. And something you can do here if you want is you can parboil meat. So parboiling means you take the meat and you boil it before you throw it in, to cook. And that helps kind of get rid of some of the impurities. There's like scum that sometimes is on meat. There's a little bit of leftover blood, like whatever it is. You can get rid of that by parboiling it. I'm lazy though right now. I'm really hungry and I don't care. So I'm just gonna pop this in the Instant Pot. Gonna cook it for probably 45 minutes and I'll just have a snack to hold me over. And then I'll get started on the noodles, the bok choy, and the chili oil. Before I forget, I just want to say I put in, obviously it's a stock I'm making, so I put in water. And I'm also going to put in a little bit of soy sauce and Shaoxing wine. I'm just going to do a stew. and put it for 45 minutes. So while this is cooking, I just want to talk a little bit about, really just talk a little bit about what I'm trying to achieve with this dish. So the general idea is that I want a really rich broth, a very beefy broth, that these noodles can really kind of soak up the flavor. So I want this like sort of like rich, red, spicy, like both in heat and as well as in like spice flavors, from all the star anise, cloves, cinnamon, all those fragrant spices. So I want this like rich, comforting broth with a good amount of fat in it. So the oxtail has like a solid amount of fat. It also has a lot of collagen, which breaks down over time into this like sticky, gelatinous broth. That's why when you put broth in the fridge, it kind of coagulates into this like brick. That's the gelatin at work. And also this is just like to balance, honestly, how like the heavy beefy noodle soup and provide some color, like I mentioned earlier. So I was really hungry and decided to fry this kimchi pancake up. It's got kimchi, kimchi brine, Vienna sausages, as you can see, an egg, some flour, some glutinous rice flour, and MSG, salt, pepper, and some chili flakes as well. So just something to hold me over. We are getting very close to my lunch being ready. I actually already ate a little snack, as you saw. I'm getting the noodles and the bok choy ready. This is going to be thrown in there. I'm probably going to cut these in half. Just blanch them. Blanching vegetables is when you just quickly cook them for like a minute or less, especially greens like this. Blanching them kind of gives them a deeper green color, as well as slightly cooks the vegetable, but does not turn it to mush. So it kind of changes the texture, makes it a little bit more tender. We're gonna throw the noodles in and probably cook them for like 3 minutes-ish, and then take them out and throw them into a bowl. I don't want to cook them too much because the residual heat, both from the noodles but also from the broth, is going to continue cooking them. Once again, I kind of want to clean up my space. I put my noodles over here, keep them just on that plate. For the bok choy, I'm just going to cut it in half like this, just at the bottom, and just pull it off. That's a trick I think I learned in like a mangchi kimchi video. So it kind of still keeps that texture in the middle, as you can see. Still keeps that texture, and also just saves you some time and thought, so you don't have to like worry about cutting through these leaves here. You can kind of just hit it at the bottom and pull it apart. So these are prepped now, and the noodles are prepped right now. Now I just need to get the chili oil rocking. So I'm probably just gonna do ginger, garlic, chili powder, and then a few spices. All right, so I'm gonna get some oil, not smoking hot exactly, but pretty damn hot. You don't have to do this, but you can crush the ginger a little bit, and that just first of all, it breaks down some of the cells, so some of the aromatic juices come out, but also it increases the surface area, so there's gonna be more contact with the oil. A lot of those aroma compounds inside here, the things that make this taste and smell so delicious, are going to be exposed. So that's another reason why, you might want to smash it. So I'm going to throw these into the oil along with the garlic. And so as you can see, this is kind of throwing in the wet ingredients first, and then later I'm going to take the spices, the aromatics that'll burn much more easily, and I'm going to lower the heat and throw those in. So we have our ginger and garlic in there. You want to fry this until it kind of gets just aromatic, which will be pretty soon. There's visual cues, and there's also nasal. There's aroma cues. The visual cues are really the bubbles. Bubbles are created by moisture when you throw things into oil. So there's water coming out of these aromatics. Once there's less bubbles, there's less moisture. You can also tell, you're not able to tell in this light, but there is also like some steam coming off, and you can tell that the aromatics are more ready when steam is coming off at a less intense rate. These are super aromatic now. So now I'm just gonna throw in the star anise, the cinnamon, and I'm gonna wait a little bit more, and I'm gonna throw in the bay leaf, which will basically instantly burn, and I don't wanna burn it. So once I throw in the bay leaf, I'm just gonna turn off the heat. Now I'm going to strain this and get it super piping hot and pour it into a bowl of chili powder. So I have all this chili powder. I'm gonna put like 3 tablespoons, maybe 4 tablespoons into a bowl. Maybe more actually, maybe 5 or 6 or 7. Who knows? We'll see what happens. And now we're going to basically get this super hot. This oil is going to be really, really hot, and then we're going to pour it in over this strainer, and all of it's going to mix in, and I'm just going to use a chopstick to stir it. So now I strained these, I'm getting the oil super hot, and I'm doing that so these things right here do not burn. And I'm about to pour it in, so you'll get that close-up action. All right, this oil's really hot now. I'm gonna turn off the heat. I'm gonna throw this on. So you can kind of see all this chili oil. It's like, didn't get the oil so hot that it would burn, but it just darkened it a little bit. And now this is ready. You know, you can throw a little bit of salt in there, a little bit of MSG if you want. It smells super insane in here. It's like cinnamony, super fragrant from the star anise, the fennel. It smells really good. Wish we had smell-o-vision, but sadly these days we do not. I'm really excited for these noodles too. They're gonna be nice and thick. The thing I totally forgot about was the beef. I'm actually gonna slice the beef, so I can show you what's up there. I have these big hunks of beef, and they'll be much better in the soup if I slice them up. Usually for this type of cut, you have a grain. This grain looks like it's going this way, as you can see. You can kind of see this grain goes that way. It's already so tender, honestly, that I can just cut in like that, and this just kind of falls apart. Not too much, but it does fall apart. So on top of the soup, we can have these nice solid slices of beef. So I'm gonna go ahead and slice up all this beef. It would probably be a cleaner slice if this was cooled a bit. So maybe if I tied this up in twine and I sliced this up after cooling it, it would be easier to cut up and to handle, just because some of the meat would kind of, I guess, tighten up a bit because of the cold. Some of those proteins sort of coagulate and chill out a bit. There's a lot of connective tissue here. So I'm gonna try some of this too. Really beefy. Ooh, hot. I'm gonna blanch the bok choy now. You can see it instantly. Look at the difference in color. It just brightens up. It's bright green. So I'm just gonna kind of let these cook for like a minute. These are probably blanched enough. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 halves in each soup. Okay, and then I'm gonna throw in the noodles. I might throw a little bit of salt in that water too, just to flavor the noodles a bit more. And those are just gonna cook for like 2 to 4 minutes. All right, these are pretty much ready now. You can tell by the texture. I took a little bite. So this is gonna chill in there. Now we are going to put the broth in. Put some of these guys on. Some beef slices in. Wow, I can feel how sticky that is. And some chili oil. Here we go. All done.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, this is the first bite. It's food shots. Oh yeah, a little bit spicy, huh?
Yeah. Slap the meat.
This is tasty.